Hey, what's up? It's Pika. It is Sunday night, you guys, over here in Singapore, and I am staring down the barrel of another week coming up here in a minute. Um, I gotta say something real quick. I know Facebook changes its its format a little bit every so often, and when they did the Facebook Live audio changes, I missed the countdown, the 3, 2, 1 countdown to starting the audio. I just want to say that out loud because it's kind of nice to know that that's when it's starting instead of it flashing a little bit and then it kind of disappears and you're like, oh shit, I'm on the air. But yeah, that's my little 2 cents for Facebook if you're listening. Anyway, so yeah, I was off today. I got to stay home and chill out. I didn't have plans to go anywhere, and it was kind of nice because I got a lot done. So yesterday I was talking about, put your money where your mouth is, walk the talk and everything. And yeah, I commit to a lot of things because I feel like I need to. I kind of feel like that's how I motivate myself to get all my work done. But for some reason, I don't always get it all done. I mean, I'm human. I get distracted. Social media sucks that way. I'll be on social media trying to research something and get sidetracked and go through my newsfeed instead. Just dumb stuff like that. Or go searching for a friend of mine or some quote I saw like a long time ago. It has nothing to do with what I was trying to do in the first place. So yeah, I do get sidetracked. But today, I'm pretty proud of myself, y'all. I got some real work done. So just to really lay it out there real quick for you, I didn't sleep very well last night. I woke up a lot during the night, but I was up and out of bed by 7 this morning. So, like I said yesterday, the plan was to leverage all of the machines in my house, and I did. I put the washing machine on. I went ahead, the kettle started. I went ahead and started, sweeping up the whole house, and then I mopped, and I put the clothes out, and I made breakfast. I mean, it wasn't anything like major, but it was enough to like keep me going. So I'm actually pretty proud that I got all that done. So all of that was done by about, 9 o'clock. And let's see, after that, I actually went through all my daughter's toys. Now she has a habit of, when I say pack up, she'll just dump everything in the closest container. So I get irritated because then there are like marbles in every corner of the house, mostly in places where I will probably step and slip and fall. But I went through all of her things. She loves paper at the moment. She's obsessed with scissors, glue, and paper. And she'll make stuff and stick stuff, and there'll be like glue stains all over my carpet that just look really bad. But yeah, so I went through all of that, tried to organize as much as I could, got rid of a lot of bulk, a lot of like chewed up looking rubber bands, pieces of paper that have been folded 1,000 times and cut into tiny pieces. Just a lot of, for lack of a better term, I'm going to go with tamo, kupe. It's like just trash. Stuff that really doesn't look like it could ever be used again, so I got rid of it. So everything's a little more streamlined. There's not as much clutter. I put everything back where it needs to be. Organized all her toys, like-minded toys in a container together, whatever. Anyway, so you get the gist. So I got all that done, and by then it was like, 9:30. Played with her for a little bit, got on the computer and did some work as well. Right now I am actually, and it's not even debating, I just haven't hit the button and bought. I am working on possibly getting the Creative Cloud for Adobe. Just a single app is about $26 a month to get Photoshop. Because like I said, I'm tired of waiting on people to help me out. Yes, I could always get on Fiverr and get someone to do the work for me, but why not try and do it myself as well? And I mean, if it does turn out to be really, really difficult or super complicated, yeah, okay, fine. I'll send it out to someone and see if somebody else can get it done. I did have someone lined up that was going to help me with all of this, and they'd agreed, yeah, we can do this. And then he flunked out. And then I went back to the original person that I had spoken to about, graphics and design and stuff, because he's an artist. He likes to draw. And he's busy. So like I said, I mean, everyone has their own shit to deal with, right? Everyone's cross is their own to bear, and it's big to them. And I am just sick and tired of waiting on other people. So in true Pika style, I'm going to suck it up and figure it out myself. That may take a little bit longer than I want it to, but it also means that I will be well equipped to hire someone in the future because I know what I'm talking about. And that's something I really, really find important. If I want an accountant, if I want a marketing person, if I want a graphic designer, all of those things, I need to be able to talk in a language that they understand with terms that they're familiar with, because I know a little bit about what their job would entail. Otherwise, I wouldn't effectively be able to communicate what it is I want for my business, and perhaps not recruit the right people to keep around me so that I can move forward and they can also move forward. So if that makes any sense, I think it's important for me to develop these kinds of skills so that I can move forward and then eventually hire the right people as well. Tonight, I actually really want to talk about courage. And not courage in the sense of, if you're afraid, you do it anyway. No, not like that at all. Right now, I think the consensus on entrepreneurship is the only way to really get people's attention and get people to want to get to know you, listen to you for 5 minutes, just to hear you out even, is to be good at storytelling. And while I don't tend to storytell as much, I do document a lot. I feel like I do draw from stories that I know of or past experiences every so often, just to make sure that you understand what I'm talking about. I want to be able to illustrate whatever point I'm trying to make, and for that I need stories. But in that same vein, I feel like it takes a lot of courage to accept who you are, accept what it is, about you that you're, how do I explain this? To accept all your flaws, to know that there are going to be people out there that are going to judge you right off the bat, but still be courageous enough to tell your story. I think that's really important. I think in this day and age where so many people are real quick to decide who you are, real quick to categorize you, pigeonhole you, decide that you can't be any more than just this one image based on your Instagram photos, based on, whatever. I think it's really important that a lot of us are stepping out of our shells, whether we're introverts or ambiverts or extroverts, whatever, that we're trying really hard to accept the fact that we have all of these things that define us in one way or another, but are courageous enough to come out and tell our story. I guess way back when you come out and tell people these things about yourself, people would see you as weak because, you're just looking for pity, you just want someone to feel sorry for you, that's why you're telling me all this stuff. And that's not it at all. What we're slowly finding out is that there are more of us out there who are suffering from similar symptoms than there are people who are willing to judge us or decided about judging us. I think it kind of hit me when Instagram used to do, I think it was Instagram or Facebook, I'm not sure, but you used to see those videos where there was someone on screen and they weren't talking, there was no sound bite to the video, but they had basically what amounts to flashcards that kind of told a story as they dropped one flashcard after another. And it was their way of opening up and telling us the story of their life, or one thing that really defined them or shaped their existence here on Earth. So that kind of vulnerability, that kind of courage to be able to come out and say those things, that's kind of what I'm about. I want you to feel comfortable in your own skin. I want you to feel like you can identify with me because I was able to break down my walls and tell you a little bit about myself. Obviously, no two experiences are alike because they're framed by other experiences that came before that. They're framed by, the kinds of people you were around at the time, the kind of influences that kind of got to you at the time that these things happened. So everything is different for each person, but to know that someone else felt shame, felt small or belittled by someone, felt powerless to fight against something. Those are the kind of stories that really, really matter. It may have even started back with, those Dear Ann columns in the newspaper, and then Jack Canfield's Chicken Soup for the Soul. For people to actually open up and tell their story, knowing that obviously someone might judge them, but also knowing on the same token that they might be able to reach someone who hasn't found their voice yet, that doesn't feel like, they are equipped to tell their story, that they are equipped to understand that, not everything is their fault. Not everything is something that they could have controlled. Sometimes things do happen and then you kind of have to react to it or, get over it somehow. It's life is messy, you guys. Life is so messy, and the fact that we even have stories And now we're in a position to want to share them, to want to reach out, to want to touch everyone's lives and make sure that no one feels alone ever again. That's a big deal. I think that's a very big spiritual shift in our generation. I'm not sure if the millennials are feeling it at the moment, but my generation, the 80s and 90s kids, I feel like they really do. They feel on a different level. They remember what it's like not to have everything at your fingertips and, that instant gratification type of mentality. They know what it's like to, to go out and play all day and then come home because the sun's going down and you need to be home before the streetlights come on. To know that you didn't have a cell phone to be able to call your mom and say, this change, that change, I'm not going to be here, I'm not going to be there. You had to make sure you got somewhere where you could tell your mom, hey, you know what, this is going on, and I might be late. Or when you come home, you apologize. It's not like that anymore. Life has changed. The culture has changed. The expectations have changed. Technology has adjusted everything for us. I know that Gary Vaynerchuk talks about, how you don't even have to wait till Wednesdays at 9 to watch your favorite show, or whatever time your favorite show comes on. You kind of can, what used to be TiVo, and now you have everything on demand, so you can kind of get it whenever you feel like it, and then you could actually binge watch an entire, every season, not even one season, just every season until you've caught up. I know for a fact that I did that when I was pregnant with my daughter. I was working about 80 hours a week at Lumber Liquidators, and I was a senior data analyst. So I was able to plow through mountains of paper and data and plug it into a database that I was creating that would eventually feed the SAP system that we were creating. And it was just mounds and mounds of busy work, and the only thing that kept me from falling asleep was actually binge watching Bones in a corner of my screen. So I would follow along with the dialogue, not really watch the movements of the people or anything, except for certain parts where she's looking through the bones. But I was able to plug in numbers, just type in numbers over and over and over and over and over again, without really thinking twice, because it was monkey work. It wasn't anything I had to think about. I just had to plug it into this spreadsheet that I'd created that would best or most effectively, display whatever data we were trying to analyze. So, I mean, even for me to be able to do those things, that's a big deal. But could you imagine having to do this kind of work way back in the day, back in the 80s, where you didn't, overtime was not prevalent. You maybe had to ask permission or really have it signed off on for you to have overtime. But now it's you clock in. If you're overtime, you're overtime. You get tons of money. And that's actually something that drove me to push to get extra money all the time. Because an extra hour every day, that amounts to something substantial, at least for me. But yeah, the courage to be able to tell those stories, for me to be able to sit here and tell you, I did not qualify for maternity leave, you guys. I was a temp when they hired me, and before I became a full-time employee, I had already gotten pregnant. And the fact that I worked in a warehouse where the floor was always covered in sawdust, where I had to walk the floor. I was very, very lucky. I was lucky to be able to wear sweatpants and a shirt to work every day. But it was cold in that warehouse, and I had to drive an hour to work every day. Once I didn't qualify for maternity leave, I had to figure out how I was going to manage, and they were flexible enough to let me work from home for the most part. But that also means it's a 24-hour business. I didn't sleep. When baby girl was up and I was feeding her, once she went back to sleep, I'd go back to the dining room table and I would work. It got to a point where it was so disruptive that my husband at the time was like, I can't sleep. I can't get any work done. I'm just sleepy all the time. And I was thinking, that's interesting, because I'm up with the baby and you don't get up to help feed or anything. But that's cool. So I moved downstairs. So we slept in the living room and I worked in the kitchen, and that was my life for a full 5 months until they decided, yeah, you know what, we need you for meetings. And let me tell you, meetings are the most unproductive time in my day. But because they needed my presence, what I did, I was able to work out, an arrangement, so to speak. I was able to get them to allow me to come in at 1 a.m. and leave by 9. Because by the time I got home, it was almost 10 and my husband would have to leave for work, which means I did not need a babysitter. And at that point, baby girl was sleeping through the night anyway, so he didn't have to get up and feed her or anything. She would sleep through the night. So I could feed her just before I left and drive to work for an hour, get back after another hour-long commute, and take over, which means she was awake while I was super sleepy, and I just have to manage. You suck it up. The thing about courage is, there's always gonna be someone who's hell-bent on misunderstanding you, hell-bent on, you know what, oh my God, stop complaining, I had it worse than you, we walked 3 miles in the snow with no shoe, whatever, it could be anything. But the fact that I could tell you this and show you that I am still standing, I am still fighting for what I think is right, I am still here trying to show the world that, you know what, if I could freaking get through this, come on. Whatever it is you're going through, all you need to do is find that little spark. That's something that, makes you want to get up out of bed in the morning to fight for what you want. And you can get it done too. I mean, if I could get it done, you could get it done. Absolutely. So that is the purpose of all these storytelling. That's the purpose of me, coming to you every night and talking to you about what I did in my day, what prevalent lesson, stuck out in my mind, why I am half sleepy. You hear me yawning sometimes throughout these podcasts, and I don't mean to be rude. It's not meant to show you that, I'm tired and I don't have time for it. It's not that at all. As much as I want to do this at a particular time every night, I don't have that luxury right now because, the hustle is ugly. I've got to get up every day and do it wherever I can. I've got to squeeze it into the little spaces of time that I have and still have time and energy to be with baby girl, to make sure she knows that I love her, to make sure that she knows I am present, I am physically around, I am mentally present when I'm with her, so that she doesn't feel like, oh my God, looking back, my mom was never there. She was in the house, but she was never there. I don't ever want her to say that. I don't. I've seen memes going around that says, raise your child so they don't have to recover from their childhood. Yeah, well, guess what? There's always going to be something that they didn't understand, that they didn't realize until you sit down and talk to them. So basically what you need more than that meme is to have an open line of communication with your child. And in this case, I have an open line of communication with you as my audience. You are more than welcome to ask me whatever questions you have. You're more than welcome to criticize me if you'd like. I mean, if that makes you feel better, cool. I mean, I accept who I am. I am proud of who I am. It took me 36 years to get to this place, and I'm not about to change for nobody in the world. I'll tell you what. I'm stuck. I'm here. I'm not about to change. And if I change, maybe it's to become a little bit more strong, a little bit more thick-skinned. Even now, with everything I've been through, with the amount of heartbreak and the amount of trauma I have seen and lived through, I should be a bitter ass bitch. Seriously, I should be bitter as hell. I should be mean mugging people in the streets. I should be, head down, just scowling at the world. But I'm not, because I don't see the worth in that. I don't see how me being pessimistic and me being, just one of those wet blanket types is going to help anybody around me. It's just going to keep me down, and that's not what I want anyway. And you know what? That little girl is watching at every step of the way, every twist and turn. She's watching, and it comes out of her at some point. We'll be having a conversation. I was talking to my brother today, and I ended up a little teary-eyed, and she ran in from the other room, and she came to hug me, and she was like, "Mommy, it's okay, you'll be all right." And I was just touched because she's 6, and the fact that she feels what I feel so deeply, that means I'm doing something right. I want her to have compassion. I want her to have gratitude. You hear it in my voice, right? It got all husky all of a sudden. I need her to be stronger than everyone else in her age group. I need her to be whole no matter what, because she has experienced a lot of loss in her short life. And yes, I am the cause for a lot of it. I took her away from her brother and sister. I took her away from her dad. I took her away from her dad's extended family. And that was the closest thing we had to family to her. People that would come around and want to be around us and stuff. And I put her in a situation where I thought we would be a little bit more supported. And we're not. But that's okay, because they weren't ready for us. I've been gone for 35 years. They don't know how to deal with me. They don't know my personality. They know bits and pieces of my life based on Facebook. But they don't know who I am. They're not ready to take on my baggage and help me. And that's not at all what I was looking for either when I came here. I was looking for people who could remind me of who I was. They say who you are is established by the time you're 5. And I left here when I was 5. And I was thinking, you know what? I come back to where all my uncles raised me in the absence of my parents. with the assistance of my grandparents. And I wanted to come back to the one place I knew that they knew who I was at that point in time. Because that's all they knew. They didn't know me in between that. They haven't seen who I've eventually become since I was 5. So I wanted really badly for them to come and tell me, hey, you were happy as a child, or you were naturally bossy. I don't know. I didn't care what it was. I was kind of trying to figure out what it was that I originally was and what I've changed in the meantime. Because yeah, the world does change you. You learn certain things during childhood. You learn certain things during your teenage years, methods to cope with whatever it is that's bothering you. And then as you get to your 20s, mid to late 20s and early 30s, you realize, hey, I need to unlearn a lot of this because it's jading the view I have of the world, and it's destroying how I manifest my own reality. So it's funny how you learn all these things and you adjust, and then finally find out that, you know what? I was fine the way I was. And I should have remained that way, but I wasn't strong enough, so I stuffed part of myself deep inside me where no one else could see it. I hid part of myself that I was ashamed of because people didn't get it and they didn't want to get it. So they made fun of me. And we adjust little by little, and you kind of lose sight of who you really are. And then it takes your early adulthood to relearn what you love and what you don't love, what you're willing to put up with and what you won't put up with. For those of you who really know me, I am far from subtle. I'm very outspoken, super opinionated, and I will flip out if anything bothers me. But for the most part, because I have a counseling background, because I have a psychology background, because I am a Pisces, because I feel so deeply, I don't want to offend anyone. So I come across as real chill, real subtle, the kind of person that doesn't ruffle her feathers very easily. But there is that part of me, that temper that I've suffocated for about 15 to 20 years, that does rear its ugly head and set fire to my entire life sometimes. There is that part of me. I do feel very deeply on every emotion, the whole broad spectrum of emotions. But for the most part, I try not to ruffle my feathers. I try not to upset people. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I try to give them enough rope to hang themselves with before I decide to step down and walk away. But it's these stories, I'm hoping, that help you understand that I am just as human as you. My story may not be exactly like yours, but it's taken me a lot of time to accept who I am, to understand what exactly I went through, to deal with the emotions that I've had to hide, or those things that you've forgotten about on purpose because they hurt so much. It's taken me a long time to uncover all of those things. I'll tell you this, I went to a counselor. He was a member of our family. I went to a counselor when I first found out that he was hell-bent on divorce and everything. And I spoke to him because I wasn't sure how to feel. I was kind of numb, and I was afraid of that numbness because I was shutting my daughter out. I was shutting everyone out. I was binge watching Scandal at the time and identifying with Millie for some reason. And while I wanted to be, I forget her name now, Olivia. I wanted to be Olivia. I felt more like Millie, and I was trying to figure out why it was that I felt this way. And so talking to this counselor gentleman, he was very, very sweet and very, very open-minded. He was so sweet to be able to sit down and talk to me. But the funny thing is, by the end of it, he told me, you know what, you don't need counseling. You know exactly what you've been through. You know exactly how to handle all these things. And there's nothing that I could tell you that you don't already know. And I don't know whether to be proud of myself or be like, well, damn, I failed. I failed at counseling. But either way, I have a lot of stories. I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest. There are a lot of things I want to share with you so you don't feel like you're alone. So you understand that, you know what? I made it. I figured it out. And I'll tell you what I did to figure it out. I'll tell you what methods I used. By all means, please, if you want to try them, try them. And if you don't, that's cool too. If you don't want to listen to my stories, you know what? I'm sorry. If I bother you, if the sound of my voice is irritating, I don't know. But I think it's time I told my story. I think it's time that I gave you bits and pieces of my life, because I think it would help. I think it would encourage you to come forward. I think it would encourage you to embrace that strength you have within you. All of us have it. And I'm hoping that my courage will be contagious. If smiles can be contagious, why can't courage be contagious as well? What do you think? Anyway, so brand new week tomorrow. And there's a lot I need to accomplish because the end of the year is coming. And I want to be able to say that the intention that I wanted to manifest in the letter I wrote about the end of the year, I want to be able to say that, you know what? Yeah, I got it done. I made sure. Yeah, life happens. It's not good or bad. And 90% of it is how you react to it. Absolutely. But that doesn't mean you can't course correct. That doesn't mean that once that initial reaction is over that you can't look at it objectively and be like, you know what? All right. How do I move from here? How do I get through this? Who do I need by my side? Who do I need to get rid of? Who have I outgrown? How have I outgrown these situations? You are forever changing. You will never be the same again, this moment to the next. I hope you're able to pull some courage from me, pull some motivation from me. And if I can reach at least one person, this is episode 77. If in these 77 episodes I've reached at least one person and gotten them the chance to just try one more time, then I guess I've done my job. All right, you guys, I need to go and get some more work done. But in the meantime, I wish you a very blessed night. I wish you love and light. And I will catch up with you again tomorrow. Okay? Bye.